Hello and welcome back to our still as
Unnamed
yet
podcast.
unnamed podcast. Maybe we should just call it the unnamed podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast
Well,
with no name.
yes, the podcast with no name. You're here with us again. My name is Dan.
And I'm Mikey.
Yeah.
We need like a news show style music intro credit there.
Yeah, some lower thirds and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
On today's news.
So we have shared the first episode with some friends and some friends, and, and they came back with some criticism. So Mikey's going to address one of them. So at the beginning of this one, we're just going to do a bit of an update where we clarify certain things from the last one that people were confused about.
Yeah. So Dana mentioned to me that some of the guys that we got to watch the podcast they didn't have um basically they've never been interested or seen any like watched any live fights or anything. They don't know
Yeah, no
anything.
prior.
They don't know anything about the industry, even how a fight card goes or what a fight card is. So I just wanted to start by saying that uh, both myself and Dan, me more in terms of like fight terms or whatever, I'll say fight terms without even thinking about, oh, I need to explain that. And the same with Dan in terms of health and fitness and stuff. He'll maybe say some things that he won't think, oh, I need to explain that.
Yeah.
Um, like if you were to say a squat, you wouldn't think, oh, I need to explain what a squat is.
Yeah.
That's how I think about whenever I talk about a fight card.
Hmm.
Because I'm just that used to it. I should probably move a bit closer to my mic. um, so I just wanted to start by breaking down what a fight card is. So generally on a fight card, you'll have between 14 or 15, 12 to 14 or 15 fights. Uh, Depending on how many stay on the card and how many fall out. The way it works for the UFC, anyway, you'll have Fight Pass prelims. Fight Pass is the UFC's subscription-based streaming service, so
Yeah.
they're on Fight Pass. That's the only way you can get them.
Okay.
And then you will have the prelims that you'll usually have between 2 and 4 Fight Pass prelims,
Hmm.
which will normally be fighters making their debut, lesser known names. And then you'll have the prelims. Prelims can be anywhere from fighters that are coming up in the ranks to guys that are debuting to guys that have been around a long time, and guys kind of like them, but they're not a big name. Uh,
Okay.
so you'll have a main prelim, which a
Yeah.
lot of the time is like a show bout. So you'll have like a ranked
So prelim
contender.
being short for preliminary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and usually you'll have between 4 and 6 prelim fights.
Yeah.
And the main fight on a prelim can be like two guys that are within the top 10 going up the ranks towards the belt, and maybe whoever wins that fight will go on to do a contender fight, then fight for the belt.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have the main card. Generally, the main card is filled with more popular fighters, bigger draws, bigger names, more ranked fighters, which comes along with being a bigger draw and a bigger name. Generally, you're going to be a better fighter.
Yeah.
And you'll have generally 5 or 6 on a main card, and then you'll have a main event and a co-main event. Generally, the main event is either a title eliminator, someone who's rank 2, 3, 4 against another guy who's ranked 2, 3, 4, and whoever wins that fight is next in line to fight for the title.
Okay.
Or you will have a title fight, or a marquee event like CM Punk, who,
Okay.
for anyone that doesn't know, was a WWE wrestler who transitioned to mixed martial arts, signed with the UFC for his first ever bout. He'd never done martial arts before. The most he'd done was in the WWE ring.
Hmm.
He spent 3 years, maybe it was 2 years, 2 years training flat out. Went into his fight, got destroyed, took another fight, got destroyed, showed good heart. Like he stayed in there. In his second fight, got destroyed. But both times he was on the main card and quite high up there as well.
Okay, so a minute ago you mentioned something about if they're staying on the card. So why would somebody not be on the card anymore? Would it be because they dropped out, or would it be like medical reasons or failing tests and stuff?
So the most common reason is injury.
Okay. So while they're training, they get injured, or they had another fight where they got injured?
Uh, Most fighters don't fight any more often than once every 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So if you're under contract, specifically with larger organizations like the UFC or Bellator, you aren't generally permitted to fight in any other contest than what they book you for.
Okay.
So if you're booked for a fight in 4 months' time, if you compete in anything without them saying you compete, generally they'll let fighters compete in grappling competitions. But
Okay.
you won't be allowed to do boxing matches or kickboxing or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And that obviously opens up to injury if you are competing in something.
Yeah.
So generally, it'd be during their training camp. They'll be sparring too hard, and they'll get knocked out 3 weeks before the fight. So they've got a concussion. They aren't allowed to fight for 2 months.
Hmm.
Um, or they'll throw a kick. They'll break their foot. They'll break their hand.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of injuries with legs actually. Like a lot of people have knee and calf injuries, ACLs and MCLs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Quite often, people get those injuries and they have to get that worked on. The other big one is obviously illness. People getting staph infections and things like that.
Okay. And that's why the card varies from 12 to 15.
That's why. So generally, they'll build it with the same amount every time. But
Okay.
then even before they announce it, fights can fall apart.
Okay.
Um,
I was just wondering why it was such
yeah.
a big, well, it's not like a big window, but why there's a change.
Well, so the the other two main reasons would be one, having arguments with the company.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you argue with your boss, you're getting fired.
Yeah, that's
You
it's
know,
happened before with some of the big title fights, haven't they?
it's
Sometimes,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
I mean,
rarer, but
probably the biggest one you can talk of would be Conor McGregor not showing up to
yeah,
a press conference. So they
yeah,
said, okay, well then you won't fight on this card, which would have been the biggest card in UFC history. It was
mm-hmm.
UFC 200.
Mm-hmm.
Would
No,
have
I remember that one actually.
would have been the biggest event in history, probably. So that's one. The other one is drug testing. So USADA are the drug testers for the UFC, which is the United States Anti-Doping Association.
Yeah.
And basically, their tests have got to a point now where they can detect stuff with such a minute trace that people are getting banned from competition for having like literally the smallest, most minuscule trace of a banned substance in their body.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the word for them, but I know there's a joke word for them because John Jones was busted for them and he kept saying the wrong word. I
Okay.
can't exactly remember what it is, but
Okay.
um
Well, there's some clarification for fight cards though, anyway.
yeah. So it can be any one of those reasons that a fight card will be shortened, that there'll be less fights on it. And like I said, a lot of that's to do with health and fitness. I mean, even on top of that, the weight cut can drop fighters out of a card because it's such a grueling process.
Yeah, it can be quite dangerous as well. You know, if you do the water fasting and stuff like that, you just end up dehydrated and
Almost every fighter water fasts,
Mhm.
so
There's
they
a lot
end
of
up.
problems, health issues that happen with water fasting.
Yeah, there's guys cut 35 pounds for a fight.
Hmm. And then they cut out all their sodiums as well, so you lose all your electrolytes, and you get just
Yeah.
so you can stay as dry as possible because water or the sodium helps with keeping or water retention, osmotic pressure in the body. So
Yep. So a lot of guys, the UFC is sponsored by Body Armor now. Like sports water. So it's
yeah,
basically just water that they've added electrolytes and different vitamins and calciums and things to.
yeah. So segue
Yeah.
from electrolytes. Uh,
Planned.
yeah. So the main sort of topic we want to talk about today would be sort of like vitamins and supplements and stuff like that, as well as our own personal diets and things that we're going to be doing in the future, and things that we've actually done in the past as well that we've tried out that doesn't work. So we touched on it briefly before. My diet is radically changed over the past 5 years, or well, maybe a bit longer. I've been changing what I eat a lot, so I've done quite a few different diets. I can tell you what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, and where I've been more leaning towards. And Mikey can do the same with what he's been eating, and your diet would be less thought out than mine.
Yeah, fair.
Because it's more, what can I afford right now, which is a fair thing whenever you're talking about food.
It is and it isn't. I don't really tend to plan my meals. Sometimes I'll get in a kick and I'll plan my meals for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But as a whole, I generally go to the shop. If I want lunch, I go to the shop and I'll buy lunch. If I want dinner, I go to the shop and I'll buy my dinner.
So, yeah. Whereas me, I buy food for the week, and it's just I used to plan out every meal, but now I'm more of a I have this food in the house that I would generally like to eat, and then whatever I feel like making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've done at the minute, obviously because of lockdown. Aren't supposed to be going out too much. It was Easter Sunday yesterday, or no, 2 days ago. Yesterday was Monday.
Yeah, it was Easter Monday yesterday.
Yeah. So I went and I got enough stuff that would do me for a few days. Just, chicken, mince, sausages, bacon, potatoes, bread.
Yeah.
Biscuits. I actually didn't buy any biscuits.
Okay.
There are loads.
Well, what kind of diet are you looking to sort of go into?
So as we said last time, I'm fully committed to getting a chance to flush out the carnivore diet, give it a full try. A full try to me would be at least a month.
Yeah, it's the minimum amount of time, I think, for adaptation.
That's what, from everything I've looked at, that's what everyone has said was you need to be trying this for at least a month before you will properly see effects.
Yeah, I was told, or from what I've seen, you want a month to get used to it, and then you want to continue it for another 2. So 3 months to get the full sort of feel for it. To see, because a lot of people that have like autoimmune issues, they get a quick positive at the beginning, and then all the negative things set in, like the diarrhea, and then you're adjusting to fat adaptation rather than using glucose, you'd be using the body fat. And then a lot of people have issues with the sheer volume of food that they need to eat, because it's really difficult to overeat meat because it's so satiating. The protein and the fat, you're just eating so much of that, it fills you up, and then you just don't even feel hungry. Whereas carbohydrates, you can eat. So a lot of people are actually under eating, which is an issue that I was having a little bit. And I think you said last time as well, you didn't feel like you were eating enough.
See, well, that was the thing. I was eating like a big plate of food. Generally, it was a big plate of food. I used a lot of eggs. So I didn't do true carnivore. Like, I wasn't just eating purely meat. I was also doing eggs, and I was...
No, that's carnivore. Carnivore is anything animal based.
It depends on which one you look up, because there's obviously no set, this is it, this is what you're eating. But
okay, the one I'm going by is Sean Baker, the guy who made it popular.
Yeah, so there's a lot of real purists that say you have to eat only meat, like no eggs, no butters, no...
No, well, I understand some of them say no dairy because it can be an inflammatory thing. So some would say no dairy. I haven't seen anyone say no eggs.
See, I like, after I eat a meal, especially if it's really savory, I like something sweet. That's why after I was eating, I would have my steak in the evening with, I don't know, sausages and egg and whatever. And then after that, I would have a few spoons of yogurt, just Greek yogurt, not flavor or anything, just...
Yeah, I would do that. I actually make my own yogurt.
Yeah. So I was doing that, but a lot of people online would say that's not true carnivore. It is the carnivore diet a lot of people do, but a lot of people would say that's not true carnivore.
Well, the thing I like about the carnivore diet is it's not veganism. And so the carnivore community typically doesn't care. If you have some plants in, that's absolutely fine. As long as the majority of your nutrition comes from animal-based sources, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's more where I would be in line with. I prefer more of a traditional diet. So if anybody's ever heard of the Weston A. Price Foundation, they have a set of dietary guidelines that they run by, or 11 principles that they do, and this is based on a traditional diet. I'll probably go into it a little bit more some other stage, but just as a brief overview, Weston A. Price was a dentist, and he wanted to travel the world to see what ancient cultures ate from a dental perspective, just to see how certain foods affect the body and affect the teeth. What he went in thinking that he'd find was that most cultures would be largely plant-based and that meat would be the unhealthy thing, but he actually found it was the opposite, where all every ancient culture always incorporated some form of animal-based product. All the healthy ones anyway. There have been some exceptions, but those were more developed. But all of the more ancient, tribalistic, older type cultures, they always incorporate meat and organ meats and fermented foods and things like that.
Organ meats were
They're
huge.
Oh yeah, they're really important. Like liver is the first ever vitamin and is the ultimate multivitamin. If you want to be healthy, you need to eat, some liver. I'm still trying to work my way into doing that. Liver is difficult to eat. But again, we're not used to eating it. And whenever an animal gets killed, the first thing that the hunters do is they pull out the liver, divide that up, and then eat that.
Hmm.
Depending on the culture, obviously, sometimes the chief would always eat it, and some other cultures save those kind of organ meats for the children, because they want them to develop uh, perfectly healthy and strong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people find that hard to believe. They go, oh, well, the Incas didn't eat meat or whoever. I don't know about the Incas. I don't know if they didn't eat meat. I'm just taking
Oh,
in
every culture ate meat.
ancient culture.
Yeah.
Um, I know there are some cultures that were vegetarian, but that wouldn't have been in the inception of the culture. That would have been later down the line.
Oh, but there's another interesting thing though. Some cultures were vegetarian, but
No more vegan.
none were vegan, not a single one. So
Yeah,
those vegetarian cultures that you're talking about, they still had milk, they still had eggs.
yeah.
A lot of them would have been maybe even pescatarian, where they would have fish and things, but not a single one was vegan because it's not sustainable.
Well, quite a lot of them would have been pescatarian. Like if you think about like the islands, like Hawaii and uh, New Zealand and all that region of Ireland islands.
Hmm.
Um, those guys probably would have been pescatarian.
Oh yeah, tons of fish.
Yeah,
And
their
when I was
staple diet was
vegetarian,
fish and vegetables, coconuts.
yeah, so I went vegetarian. I was vegetarian for a long time, and then I had to switch to pescatarian because I kept craving fish.
Yeah,
Like I felt like I was missing something, and anytime that I went long periods of time without having any animal product, I just felt so strange and dizzy and weird. And then as soon as I ate fish, I'd feel good again.
that was actually the same as whenever Ryan was trying vegetarian.
Mhm.
Um, he he was, oh, I haven't eaten meat in 4 days. I haven't eaten meat in a week, and then all of a sudden he would appear with 5 tins of tuna and go, whoosh, boom,
Yeah.
and then he was like, oh my god, I feel so much better.
Yeah, because I felt like crap. And the reason I went to vegetarianism originally was because I had a choice because I didn't have any money. It was I can either eat meat or I can eat healthy, and that I think is a bad indication of where our society is when it comes to the opinion of meat. Because I genuinely believed that vegetables were healthier than meat, and I was so wrong, and I paid
See,
for it.
that's where we differ because I've never believed, although everyone says, oh, don't eat red meat, it gives you cancer, it gives you heart disease, it gives you this, that, and that. No matter what way you look at it, anything will give you cancer or this or that or the other thing.
Yeah. I don't know a single thing
If
that it isn't a
yeah,
cancer
if you
inducing thing.
if you
Anything you look up, it's like, oh yeah, that's cancer.
yeah, if you read
Oh,
the
that's
sun,
cancer.
if you read the sun, every single thing you paint at your house, you're getting cancer. Oh, you work with electronics, you're getting cancer. Oh, you work with cars, you're getting cancer.
Yeah, even for the longest time, the World Health Organization said that red meat was a class 1 carcinogen up there
Yeah.
with asbestos, and you're like, is it though? I
I
don't
mean,
believe that.
well then why have we been eating it for how many thousands of years?
No, exactly. Our civilization developed by hunting megafauna. Like if you go back to what are the Australopithecus and Neanderthals and all those other kind of
Yeah.
historic thing. They hunted mammoths to the point of extinction because they were giant creatures that had a lot of fat and they were ruminant animals, which meant they were red meat,
Yeah.
and that's how our culture developed.
If you follow like us as humans now, if
Hmm.
you follow our lineage back the whole way to whenever there was different types of humans, whenever there was Neanderthals and all these other different tribes, different types of
Species, yeah,
us, yeah, species of
yeah.
us, we're the ones that survive because we're the ones that ate meat and every part of the animal.
Hmm.
And I believe, don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I watched this stuff, probably 6 months to a year. But I was watching things about how we actually became the dominant species, and it was because we were eating things like the liver and the heart.
Yeah,
And I
and
think we
even
were
brains.
I think we were the first species to learn about fire and the difference between cooking the meat,
Yeah,
heating it up,
cooking
and eating
unlocked the
it.
potential of the calories, so we were able to get more out of it
Yeah,
as well.
and all of a sudden, brain power goes from this to this.
Yeah, well, our brain power went up. We discovered how to use tools.
Yeah,
So there's a theory within traditional eating, and it's called like supports like. So if you eat something like a kidney, that'll help support your kidney because it's got all the similar building blocks to it. If you eat, an animal's heart, it'll help support your own heart.
yeah,
Same thing with brain. So what happened was that the only no animal could break through the skull of another animal, but we as human beings had the ability to break apart them with tools that we had. So we managed to smash open the skull, so we eat brain, so we get a lot of DHA, EPA, omega-3, lots of fat, lots of cholesterol from the brain, which helps support our brain. Then we also were able to break into the femur bones, tap into the marrow, which help boost immune systems and all the other kind of stuff.
yeah,
No other animal could do that.
yeah.
Well, except for a hyena. I think the hyenas have a strong enough jaw to crush skulls and
Well,
stuff, so they were able to. But
so could
they're very
crocodiles and
clever animals
hippos.
too. Hmm?
So could crocodiles and hippos.
Yeah, well, they just ate the whole thing and just
Yeah,
digested it all.
I
But
know. Yeah.
yeah, but again,
Um.
it's I forgot what I was going to say there. I lost it. I was like,
Yeah.
but no, I don't know.
But no.
I
Yeah.
was going to.
Well, I mean, that's something that I've said for years. Is to anyone that's like, "Oh, you eat meat? How could you eat meat? Did your parents eat meat? Did your grandparents eat meat? Did your great grandparents eat meat?" You trace your lineage back thousands of years, and I think you'll find that pretty much all, if not all of them, have eaten meat. So why would you
Oh
now
yeah,
stop to eat meat? Your
and it was the
body
greatest generation on Earth. Great grandparents. But it
lived
was those
on
people.
meat.
Yeah, before the war
Yeah,
happened, everything had to be rationed. These people were eating. I mean, everything was cooked in fat because vegetable oils didn't exist at that time. I hate vegetable oils. Like again, we're going to go on to another thing where we talk about fats, and
yeah.
we briefly mentioned before about saturated fats, where
Hmm.
Mikey was saying about how saturates were bad, and they're really not. If the modern diet is what's ruined people's health,
Yeah,
and their solution for it is to keep eating the crap that is recommended that is again highly processed crap that your body isn't used to eating and cannot absorb any of the nutrients from.
yeah.
So like, would you be able to make vegetable oil by yourself?
I have no idea.
You wouldn't. It's a 5-step process with lots of heating. There's a hydrogenation process. There's a filtration process. There's bleaching process. There's like whenever you they call them vegetable oils, but most of them actually come from seeds. So if you look at it, it's always either rapeseed, it's sunflower seed, it's cottonseed if you're going like Crisco and stuff like that in America. Um, Grapeseed. I said rapeseed and grapeseed, but they're all industrial seed oils. So you have all this waste product of seeds that you don't know what to do with. So what do? You press them out into this weird expeller thing, and then it comes out as this really nasty black sludge that's not even edible. So you sniff it, and you're like, no, I'm not touching that. So they have to put it through these heat treating processes. And again, the more you heat an oil, the more rancid it becomes, and then you have these free radicals that go into it as well. That's quite damaging, and oxidation can happen in the body when you have them. But no single person could make it by themselves. The only one that would be different would be sesame seed. You can sort of press that stone cold press that one and get some oil out of it.
Hmm.
And olive oil, again, that's a fruit. So the fruit oils are fine. So if you have coconut, that's a fruit. Olives, that's a fruit. Palm oil, that's a fruit. um, avocado oil. That's another fruit.
Hmm.
Those oils are all okay. Like I don't have any issues with that. Again, I wouldn't recommend eating a lot of it because it's a polyunsaturated fat, but it's much healthier for you than these garbage oils that people fry all their food in. And even
Hmm.
though they say, oh, it has a high smoke point, that doesn't matter. It's not good for you no matter what. The
Yeah.
only fats that are good to cook in at high temperature are stable saturated fats, which is why I only cook in ghee
So
and I cook in pig fat.
okay. But I was gonna. What about the likes of you said before lard? What about butter?
Butter's fine. The problem with butter is it burns, and it doesn't
Yeah.
burn because of the fat in the butter. It burns because of the milk solids in the butter. So milk contains sugar in the form of
Yeah.
uh, lactic acid
Hmm.
or lactose. Sorry,
Yeah.
lactic acid is different in the form of lactose. Lactose is a sugar
I understood what you
that
meant.
yeah. So that when you heat that up, eventually that will burn. And then there's also water in milk as well. So you have to kind of boil that out, and then
Yeah.
there's the whole process for that. So whenever you go into the clarification of butter, remove the solids, then get left with the butter fat itself, which is ghee, and that's what I would cook in.
Hmm.
You can buy it in Tesco.
Yeah. Um, I got a healthy grill at
George
George
Foreman
Foreman.
style thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of those?
They're okay. I don't like the Teflon
Hmm.
cooking in Teflon. As soon as the Teflon gets damaged, you need to throw it away because it's bad for you. I have a
Yeah.
Teflon pan that I really need to throw away, but
Yeah.
it's the only one that I have at that size. But Teflon is really, really bad for your health, especially once it's damaged. But healthy, as long as it's not damaged, it's fine.
Yeah. See, I got it because I was cooking whenever I was in Carnivore. I was cooking everything in butter. I was like frying in butter and
Mm.
all the rest of it. And uh, like I said before, I've quite naturally well moisturized skin, oily skin, and
Yeah.
just all the things being fried and cooked in butter and lard wasn't helping
Hmm.
it because they were all coming off the pan or whatever, really greasy.
Uh,
So I got a George Foreman so I could cook it in that, and I've been using it since, and I have found that most of the things are not as greasy as whenever I fry them, obviously. So
I don't personally. I don't find an issue with eating the animal fat. If it's greasy, it's greasy. Like I trust
yeah,
animal fat fine.
yeah.
Based on my research, I don't see anything wrong. Obviously, overconsumption of fat it can be a problem, but that's just for weight gain.
Well, that's one
But
of the
that's more
things.
because you can't burn off the calorie. Like if you have an excess of fat, that means you're having an excess of calories. If you have an
Yeah,
excess of calories, you get fat.
yeah. But I've just always found the extra grease on something just doesn't help my skin whatsoever.
Well, it depends. Like if you're cooking it and you're standing in front of it, it could be hitting you that way. But if you ingest it, it's not a problem.
Yeah. Um. In terms of uh healthy grills and their supposed properties in reducing fat in products, what do you think about
Mhm.
that? I don't think they do. I think they just
They don't reduce it.
squeeze
They
out a
just
lot of the moisture.
yeah, no, well they squeeze out the fat. That's the problem. You like it's sloping, so once you cook it, the fat renders out and then goes into that drip pan and there's your fat. I would keep that fat and cook with that fat.
Hmm.
Um, like when I make bacon, I render out the fat in the bacon,
Put it
crisp
in a
up the bacon,
jar.
take that out. No, I don't even put it in a jar. I then do like scrambled eggs. So then
Uh,
my eggs are infused with bacon fat. It's so good.
yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is I cook the eggs. Then once the eggs or not the eggs, cook the bacon,
Bacon.
render that out. So I have a teaspoon of ghee put in just to help with the cooking process.
Mhm.
Allow the bacon to fry on a low temperature until all the water, because they pump bacon full of water, they pump a lot of meat full of water. So I wait for the water to boil off. Then once it starts to fry up, I turn up the temperature. The fat's already rendered out mostly. Let the bacon crisp up. Put that on the pan. Then I would put sausages in that I would have for breakfast, coat them in the fat, let them cook. Once they're cooked, take them out. Then I put in my scrambled eggs, soak up the rest of the fat, and then eat it that way. If I wanted to save the bacon fat, which sometimes I do, I can do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I just like to eat it all, just to keep my calories up,
Yeah.
because I think I eat too little. So I need strategies to bump that up. And I don't see anything wrong with fat. I think fat's important, especially animal fats. Like again, we touched on last time about fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Uh, you can't get those any other way. We talked about briefly beta carotene. A lot of people think you can get that in vegetables. Your body can't absorb it. The most bioavailable, and we can talk about this in another podcast as well about bioavailability in food. But vegans like to talk about bioavailability in plant foods, but there is your body can't absorb it the same way that it can animal fat. So if you look at the digestive system of a human being versus the digestive system of a ruminant animal, I think they talked about this in Game Changers, that stupid documentary,
Which,
where
by the way, whenever that was on the TV just after Christmas, and everyone went mad talking about it. I think did it not come out in 2017 or something?
No, they started filming it years ago, and then there was a lot of delay.
Oh, sorry, your mic's
Like,
gone out. What?
sorry, it was filmed years ago. I think it only came out last year or something like that.
Yeah,
We could
but
double check.
it was out a while before
Or
everyone
not
really.
last year, 2018 or something.
Yeah, it was out a while, but everyone are just after Christmas here in the UK
Yeah.
started blowing up about it. I think it was on BBC. I
Mm-hmm.
think they played it on BBC.
Oh, I work in the hospital. I had people coming up to me asking about that as well. Some of my colleagues.
They all
And they
thought
were
it was
like, "Oh, what do you think
fantastic.
about that?" And I'm like, "Nah."
Yeah, they.
There was one guy that I work
It's
with.
funny because your mic actually self-muted the word crap.
Oh, okay. Did do that for you. There's a guy that I work with, and he considered going plant-based because he's a football player. And so he likes to stay healthy for that kind of thing. And he thought, well, if it helps my performance, like they suggest in this Game Changers documentary, then might as well give it a go because, it helps performance.
Yeah.
And then he had a chat with me because he knows that I'm interested in this kind of stuff. And I just destroyed the whole premise of the thing for him. And, he doesn't want to give it a go anymore now. And he's happy enough to because he likes eating meat.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason he was considering it is because of sports performance. He wanted to have an edge, but you don't get an edge
unless you have some dietary need or something that you're having an allergy or a bad reaction to that's causing you to be sluggish or bloated or brain foggy, and it's specifically related to meat. That's probably the only time that you'll see a benefit.
The only time, like if you have any bad reaction to meat, it's not necessarily the meat itself. It could be what they've done to the meat. Like processed meats are still bad for you. Anything processed is bad for you. But if you're cooking, if you're getting good quality meat and you're making it yourself, you won't have any issues.
Yeah.
The problem with, like, you talk about inflammation and the reactions that people have, you get horrible reactions on plant-based foods. You have oxalates in green leafy vegetables, but they tell you, oh, you need to eat tons of green leafy vegetables. So what an oxalate does is it binds itself to the lining of your gut and also binds itself to minerals. So if you eat, say, a lot of spinach, it's incredibly high in oxalates.
I actually love spinach.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't. I used to love spinach. I love spinach. You remember those huge salad bowls I do?
Yeah.
Like I would have a giant bowl packed out with, I don't know, like 500 grams of spinach or something stupid like that. And I put in chopped tomatoes, which is a nightshade, again, high in certain things. But anyway, if you have, like, spinach is one of those ones where if you look at it from a macronutrient point of, or a micronutrient point of view, you look at it and you see, oh, it's really high in calcium. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because it's also high in oxalates. So the oxalates bind to the calcium, so you don't absorb any of it anyway. And fortunate added negative where when it goes through your system, it strips that out of your system as well. And if you're eating that alongside crappy breads, that aren't properly fermented, like sourdough. So if you're saying you have a wrap, a little vegan wrap, you have the phytic acid that's in there too, and that binds to minerals as well, and that strips it out of your body as soon as it goes through. So you're not absorbing as much iron. You're not getting any really iron at all in that kind of diet anyway, because you're not eating meat.
Yeah.
You can get it in things like spinach is another one that's apparently quite high in iron. That's why Popeye ate it. But again, your body can't absorb it because it's not a bioavailable form. Plus, it's being stripped out of your body anyway.
I couldn't ask you just to, if possible, to get slightly closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry.
That sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
And the further back you're getting, the more of a echoey sound there is.
Yeah, I'm trying not to hunch.
Yeah, I know.
I need to get one of those.
I mean, it's same thing. I find myself kind of craning my neck forward.
Yeah, I need to
which
get
is
one of those
bad posture.
desk mic, or the, what do you call them? The boom mics on
Yeah,
the desk mounted ones.
yeah, the clamp mics.
Yeah, one that.
Um, so I actually heard you mention something there, which actually segues quite well into the other thing you were, because this has all been dietary you've been discussing. You also
Yeah,
want to discuss supplements, vitamins, different workout aids, and things. And you mentioned something that I have here on this bottle.
yeah,
Probably
all
won't
my
be able to see that
multivitamins.
because I turned my autofocus off because it does a whole pile of weird stuff to my camera.
Hmm.
And right here it says provides additional nutrients including beta carotene,
Yep,
which
which
is one of the
no
ones you,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, lutein and lycopene.
Okay.
Yeah. So you had mentioned about beta carotene before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it not worth taking a multivitamin with something like that in it?
Beta carotene. So that would be your vitamin A.
Mm-hmm.
Beta carotene isn't actually vitamin A. It's a precursor to vitamin A. So your body needs to convert that into real retinol, which is vitamin A. And your body can't do that very well. 50% of the female population can't do it at all. When it comes to overall population, I think there's about 80% of the population can kind of do it.
Mm-hmm.
20% can't do it at all. And then another 10% can't do it at all. And another 10% can do it better than the other uh, population. But also the conversion rate, I think I mentioned last one. I'm not entirely sure it is, but it's something stupid like 20 to 1 in order to synthesize a single retinol for your body that it can utilize.
Yeah.
And vitamin A is an incredibly important vitamin. It's a weird one because they recommend you don't take it if you're taking chemotherapy. They
Mm-hmm.
recommend that you don't take it if you're pregnant, which is very, very strange because there are some studies that sort of point out that high doses of vitamin A can be detrimental to developing child. But these are supplemental vitamin A, not animal-based retinol that you get from animal fats. So the the studies that are based from actual animal fat studies show that in order for proper facial development and proper heart development for a baby, you need to have a good amount of vitamin A in the mother's diet. When the child is developing and growing, uh, we both know a breathwork coach that says it's very important for facial, or talks about facial development when it comes to breathing. So you don't want to mouth breathe because
Mm-hmm.
your face ends up growing in the wrong way. But
You'll
vitamin
end up
A,
with teeth like these.
yeah, overbite, your
Yeah.
jaw hangs out, you breathe like this,
Yeah.
because your face isn't properly formed. Now, if you don't have proper vitamin A, your face doesn't form to begin with, so you're more likely to breathe out of your mouth because it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a better structured face, you breathe more naturally with your mouth shut, and then your face and grows and develops the way it should do throughout your childhood years.
Mm-hmm.
But also another good thing about vitamin A is it's good for your skin. This is why we talked about it before as well in Roaccutane, the
The acne drug.
anti-acne drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a vitamin A derivative, but again, it's still synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
It does the job to help correct your skin, but it also gives you a whole ton of other side effects. It dries out your skin really, really bad.
Yeah.
But the natural version doesn't do that. So if you're talking about your own personal health when it comes to your skin, the other thing and the reason why they don't recommend it for cancer
Mm-hmm.
is because it actually boosts your immune system and it stops cancer drugs from working properly. So they're saying that it has a protective effect on the tumor itself. Now again, this is more related towards artificial stuff, but real vitamin A tends to be fine, and I don't see how it would help because it's having it's protecting your healthy cells, not necessarily the cancerous cells.
Yes.
Again, I'm not a cancer expert, so I don't want to be saying too much with 100% certainty, but I don't see natural fat soluble vitamin A from you get from natural animal sources an
Yeah.
issue compared to the stuff that you get in that multivitamin crap. Your body can't process it, so it's essentially just expensive urine, and that your kidneys have to filter out.
Mm-hmm. Um. So basically, what you're saying is instead of taking a multivitamin, you can just eat something like um
Liver,
liver or
yeah, eat
heart.
liver. Well, oh, you wouldn't get it from heart. A heart is different, but yeah, organ meats, kidneys, fine. Kidneys got a bit in it.
Yeah.
Liver would be the best one, but again, eggs have it in it.
Mm-hmm.
Lower amounts. Just if you get proper grass-fed,
That's
healthy
where I
animal
went
fat.
wrong.
Wow.
eggs. Whenever I was a kid, I get sent
Mm-hmm.
home from school. My mum picked me up from school one day. I wasn't feeling well.
Uh-huh.
And by the time I got home, I was like, do you know what? I don't actually feel too bad. And my mum sat me down and she went, oh, I was just about to make lunch. Do you want some scrambled eggs? And I was like, yeah, scrambled. I was about P2 or P3.
Hmm.
So what's that? 6 years old or so. And I
Okay.
was like, yeah, scrambled eggs, yeah. So toast soldier, scrambled eggs. As soon as I took a bite into it, I went "Bleh," and threw up into the bowl. And I couldn't eat
Oh,
eggs. Yeah, I couldn't eat eggs from that point on. You know, one of those things you throw
yeah.
up and your brain associates with it and you just can't touch it.
Yeah, I got food poisoning from a Burger King once, and I didn't get that feeling with the Burger King, but I had pretzels shortly after. My brain associated that with pretzels, and I couldn't eat pretzels for 3 years.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
well, that was what happened to me. It was only, I'd say I was in my early to mid 20s before I started eating eggs again. Where
Yeah,
I could,
eggs are incredibly healthy. They've got almost
going
everything
by
you need
that
in it. When it
logic, I'll
comes to
be in my
fats, lipids, vitamins,
40s.
it's high in A, D, high in K.
Yeah.
Butter's a really good one for K2
Yeah. I
and D3.
was going to
So
say,
eat tons of butter.
going by that logic, I'll be in my 40s before I can drink beer again.
I wouldn't even recommend drinking beer ever. Beer's not good for you.
Well, I mean, alcohol isn't good for you if you look at the.
No, but a little bit more specifically to beer, beer is really not good for you.
Yeah, well, it's just full of yeast and barley and carbs.
Yeah, it's all your grains, so all the things that
Yeah.
are pro-inflammatory. Like again, it
Hmm.
depends on the way that you do it, but uh, if you like to the credit of the people that brew their own beer, because I know some people that do that themselves, they do find that they have a lot less digestive issues with it because they're 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 brewing it themselves, so they know exactly what's in it. There's a lot less chemical agitate, stuff that can agitate their guts.
Yeah.
And I have made beer bread before, which is as well, but I've done a beer bread sourdough. So
Hmm.
the lactobacillus bacteria in there broke down most of the bad compounds in the phytic acids and stuff like that. So I would actually eat a lot of sourdough bread as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, back to the topic of supplements.
Oh
So,
yeah, sorry.
uh, you'd said before we started this, uh, I showed you a bottle that I've sitting on my desk, which is BCAAs, which I'd said I was taking whenever I was being a lot more active. Whenever I was on Carnivore, I was taking multivitamins, BCAAs. And you said there's quite literally no point to taking BCAAs.
Yeah, there's no point in taking branched chain amino acids. So branched chain amino acid is what you use to make up a protein. So if you're having protein and you digest the protein, that breaks itself down into branched chain amino acids.
Hmm.
It's just literally the end stage of what you're already consuming. So there's no real point. You can get, and your body also produces branched chain amino acids by itself. You don't need to ingest them. The ones that you do need are essential amino acids. So the ones that your body can't produce
Hmm.
by itself, and those are the ones that you get by eating animal foods. And again, we can have another video where we break down exactly what the essential amino acids are because I can't run them off the top of my head right now.
Yeah,
But we can go down the list and we can talk about the functions of them as well. But you need to eat animal sources for that. A lot of vegans would say, oh, you can have complete proteins and things if you eat if you have certain food combinations like rice and beans, you get a complete protein. But again, it's not as bioavailable. The plant forms of those proteins aren't the same as the animal based forms.
yeah, and that's the big problem with veganism and vegetarian, right? Is that you can get proteins from nuts and berries and all these different things.
From berries, proteins.
Sorry, not berries. I just
Yeah.
automatically I say
Nut,
nuts. I go for berries. Trail
yeah,
mix all
nuts
the
and
way.
seeds. Yeah, yeah.
Nuts and seeds. Um,
Well, the problem with
but the
nuts
problem is
though
they're
as
not the
well,
right kind of proteins, right?
they're okay. They're okay. I think I'm more concerned about the anti-nutrients that are locked in with that, and then the high amounts of seed fats and nut fats that you have that are really high omega sixes. Because people already have a really high omega diet. You need to have a very particular ratio between omega six and omega three in your body in order to function optimally. And nobody, most people don't have enough omega three. So if you're eating tons of nuts, you're increasing your omega six ratio, setting your body off balance, and then creating other autoimmune issues that you know you might not even know that you have.
Yeah.
The other thing about the nuts, though, and the seeds as well, is that they have something in them called lectins. There even animal food sources have something called lectins in them, but the ones that are damaging to the body are in plant foods like nuts and seeds. So you've heard of the thing where if you eat a raw kidney bean, it'll kill you?
No, but
No, don't eat them.
I don't
Uh,
like kidney beans, so I wouldn't have
yeah, no,
anyway.
I hate them too, but I was always told never eat raw beans. Remember before when I got the pressure cooker and I started cooking my own pinto or what are they called? Pinto beans?
Hmm.
And I didn't cook them properly, and I ended up with the worst digestive. Being around me was like, being inside of a room that was recently fumigated. It's
Yeah,
I just constant gas,
yeah.
and my guts hurt. I was keeled over. Remember the cheap beans that Ryan bought before? They weren't prepared properly, and it stunk out the entire house.
Tip for everyone that is ever going to watch this: if you're going to buy beans, if you're a student, you're living on a cheap diet. If you're buying beans because you're thinking, oh, beans and toast, I'll go to Lidl or Tesco or Asda or whatever, and you're buying beans that cost 10p a tin,
Yeah, for a large tin.
do not do it.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not worth it.
it's no, it's not.
Yeah.
They have zero nutritional value. the
Hmm.
you will get the worst stomach aches, the worst farts, the worst everything.
Yeah.
It'll be constant.
Yeah,
As
and
long as you eat those, it will be constant.
the reason why is because of these lectins as well. So in order
Again,
to
again, we're not health professionals, but that is from experience, my friend.
Yeah, it is. But I can explain why now. I have the understanding to explain. So you have these things in there called lectins, and the ones in beans especially, in order to 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 get those horrible compounds out, you need to soak them for a long period of time, and that doesn't even remove them all. And
Hmm.
then you need to cook them over a period of time, and again, that doesn't necessarily remove them all before they're even safe to eat. So, and again, most processing thing, unless you're cooking it yourself, you cannot guarantee that they're cooking it properly. Most of the time, they put them in a pressure cooker, which does reduce the cooking amount of time. But like I said, I bought a pressure cooker so I could do my own, and it still didn't turn out the way that I wanted. And I still had digestive issues, and I never really liked beans anyway. But this going back to, or this is when I was transitioning from eating meat to eating vegetarian, more vegan, because I tried to stay away from butters and fats. I took the yolks out of my eggs because I was told that they were bad because it was on the pro bodybuilder diet and stuff like that. But oh, but you were saying about nuts and seeds. I personally, even though I love almonds, I love cashews, I love peanuts, I try to avoid them. I have them from time to time because I love them, but not because they're healthy. I just like the taste and I like the texture that it adds. But
Yeah,
if you want to have a nut, you should soak the nuts as well. Similar to beans, you need to soak them, but then that kind of ruins the texture of it and kind of changes the taste. But that breaks down the lectins in or the lectin compounds in the actual nut. Oh,
yeah.
and cashews are poisonous. They're
Did you
not
know that
even nuts.
cashews come from a fruit?
I did. Did you know that people that process cashews end up having their fingers burned off because of the acid that's in them?
Wow.
They are nasty for you. They have to go through this processing thing. They're not good. Like they're delicious, but that's another thing. If it wasn't processed, you wouldn't be able to eat it.
Yeah. So why
So they're
eat it?
yeah. So they're trying to turn
Yeah.
a food that nature doesn't want you to eat into something that you can't eat.
Hmm.
Like if you look at kale is another one that the health food industry is trying to shove down your throat. It's like, oh, eat this. This is really healthy. But then if you try to give it to a cow would go like, no, I'm not having. It's disgusting. What the
What you
hell?
talking about, Willis?
Yeah, they're
Um,
crazy high in oxalates.
have you seen the uh it's called, I think it's the A to Z of everything that will kill you, or the A to Z of death?
No.
No, it's like an animated cartoon by one of those College Humor or something,
Okay.
and it goes through from A to Z different things that will kill you, and one of them is kale.
Yeah.
And the guy, it's the Grim Reaper talking to this guy, and the guy's like, "Well, what about kale? That's good for me, right?" And he goes, "Actually, kale makes your thyroid too fast."
Mhm.
So, I mean, like
No, it's not good for your
even
thyroid.
even
No.
those guys, and that's not specifically. That's just pointing out things that studies have shown. That's not,
Yeah, and that's a good
common
thing as well.
studies.
In this podcast, we can talk about thyroid function as well.
Yeah.
because that's another thing that suffers under these kind of diets.
Yeah.
I'd actually
Uh,
like to talk about insulin resistance and glucose, thyroid, kidney function, tons of different things. It'd be a nice thing to talk about in this podcast over time, just to help inform people,
yeah.
and just help me kind of get my, you know,
Vent your knowledge.
information right. Yeah, vent my
Yeah.
knowledge. I like to talk to Anna a lot and people at work, just to get it off my chest. But it's nice to get it out here, and then hopefully other people can benefit from it.
Yeah. While Anna just sits there and goes, "That's nice, dear."
Yeah, she just sits there. Yeah, no, that's nice. Okay, she does actually. She's very good. She absorbs it passively.
Yeah.
It's kind of like listening to something on a radio. You kind of
Oh.
absorb the information passively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anytime
Um.
she has nutrition, people go into her work and she's like, "No, you're full of shit."
That's the same as I know I've been to a few things where someone has said, "Oh, I'm a doctor," or this person, my brother, sister, wife, husband, whatever, is a doctor, and they said this about this medicine and this and big pharma, and you're like all these kinds of different things, and I'm just always sitting in the back going, "You don't
No,
have a clue. You don't
yeah,
have a clue."
doctors, like I have a very high respect for doctors.
Yeah.
But when it comes to nutrition, they don't know anything. They don't do it. Like I can't remember exactly how much it is, but they have like one unit that on nutrition, and they don't even focus on that.
Oh, there's
So the dietary advice that they give you is the stuff that they've been told to give you, and dietitians the same
yeah.
if they're working in the hospital setting. So they're, when you talk about current dietary research, they're about 20 years behind.
Yeah. The big problem with doctors, like just your everyday GP, not to say they aren't doing a good job or anything like that. There's plenty of them that are fantastic.
Hmm.
But the problem is they very rarely recommend you need to change your lifestyle.
No, because that's not what people want, and they know that. They know people want pills.
But they have to give them hard truths. That's what they're there for, you know.
They should be doing it, and it's
Yeah.
costing NHS tons of money for it. But what
Oh,
are
a
you going to
fortune.
do? A lot of people think that they're entitled to this medicine because, well, it's the NHS. I'm a British citizen. I deserve this thing. It's like, no, you need to stop. If you want to be healthy, try to avoid seeing the doctor.
Yeah. And
And
that's the
change your
problem.
lifestyle. People are getting sick. The more into the medical side of things that you go, the closer to the hospitals that you go, the sicker you're going to get. You want to try to stay away from that and avoid
Yeah.
the recommendations that
Yeah.
they kind of give you and the medication they want to pump you full of.
Yeah. It's that my philosophy is avoid medication as much as possible.
Yeah. Now it has
Um,
its purpose. Like I'm not going to poo poo Western medicine, and go,
hope you're cutting out.
sorry. I'm not trying to say that Western medicine doesn't have its purposes. I would rather have, like, if I had a serious condition, I'm glad to have, modern healthcare. But
Yeah, for
unless
sure.
I have those kind of issues, I don't want them anywhere near it. Anytime I went to the doctor with any pains or issues, they would just say take ibuprofen for 2 weeks and then come back. It's like, no, I want to know what the cause is. Why am I feeling this way? And I have been taking ibuprofen because now I've stopped doing that, and I found out that my inflammation is coming from my diet, so I don't even need to. I think I said before with the sugar, I had headaches all the time.
Yeah, your mic is starting to cut off really badly, and I think we have to go about
Yeah,
now
we're up to
anyway, right?
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're up to time. I
yeah,
could talk about it for days.
yeah. So I think
Yeah,
that's a good place to leave it since, for whatever reason, we're having pickup issues right now anyway.
yeah.
Uh,
Looking to update some equipment in the future anyway.
yeah. So that will do us for this podcast. Um, that is our second podcast. As we said before, we're trying to open this up. We'll be getting better the more we do it. We're very open to constructive criticism, but if someone wants to just say, you guys are boring and crap, just jog on. There's no point in even wasting your breath.
Yeah, well, we're not going to care about that. But
Yeah.
honestly, any criticism for me, if you think it's, hey, that's up to you. Like, I'll take that on board. If you want to just insult us,
Yeah. It's not even worth saying that because you're cutting out so bad right now.
oh,
I
really?
don't know what's going on.
Okay.
I got the gist of it. It was if you're going to insult us, there's no point because it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, we don't care.
There's neither a positive or a negative to it. So
Yeah, we're not the
um
kind of people that would lose sleep at night.
yeah. So that's us. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thank
anyone
you very much.
that's going to watch this.
Look forward to your feedback.
Yep.
And
And
if you like it, please share.
yeah, please share, all the rest of it. If you think it's interesting, if you think there's any points that we're missing that we should bring up, don't feel like you need to hold that back. Just say to us.
Yeah, and if there's any topics you're interested in as well, feel free to recommend. Because I know that a friend that
didn't get any of that past
okay,
a friend
right,
of mine.
I'm done.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Peace out. See you in the next one, and have a good day, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.